Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. What we have today is another traveling knife. I was invited to give my opinion of the Fox Nuata, which is a modern slip joint. Before I get started on this, let me go over a couple of the basics here. First, I want to say thank you to Schneider. He's the person who actually donated the knife for this traveling review, and also J.O. Ventures, who made the slip for the knife. Let me get the knife out of the sleeve real quick. So this was J.O. Venture. He made that. Does a wonderful job with the slips. And this is the knife, the Fox Nuata, which was donated by Schneider. A couple people have already reviewed the knife so far. J.O. Ventures Outdoors, obviously, and also Warthog. And Tom over at Knife Delights did it just before me. And after I review it, I'm going to be sending it off to Big J's Knives. And then on down the list, you'll see Boston Blade review it, and then Thrifty Kniffy, RJ's Knives, and Jersey Knife Guy. Those are all the people who so far are slotted to review this knife. And basically what's going with the knife is this package of swag. I've already added my swag to the package, and then there's instructions here which I have pulled out that will go along with the knife. That's how I know who will be reviewing it in the future. So all of that will be going along with the knife to the next person, which is Big J's Knives. Now, full disclosure here, I have not watched anyone else's reviews on this knife yet. I think I will go back and look at them after I have completed my review, and probably after the knife has already been sent off to Big J's Knives, so that I cannot go back and change any of my opinions or anything. And also, full disclosure, I am not a big fan of modern slip joints. I don't know why. I'm just not crazy about the way they're made and everything else. I do have a few, but not many.
And I really need to work on this bias that I have against the modern slip joint, because the modern slip joint actually provides a great option for the modern folder crowd, as this knife is more society friendly than the locking blades and everything else. These are knives that actually are legal to carry in more places than other modern folders. And as a traditional slip joint guy, I need to look at that instead of other things.
So let's start with the knife itself. And as you can tell, it's held on by Torx screws, the covers are. And these are natural micarta. It looks like a burlap micarta to me, but it might be some other kind of material. But that's what it kind of looks like to me. It looks kind of like a burlap micarta. And you can see here, it's pretty flush back here. You can see some, the spring is a little proud on this end, nothing dramatic or anything. You do have a lanyard hole here. I do not know if this was added later or if it came with the knife. I'm not sure if this was something J.O. Ventures put in there or somehow else it got in there. It does look like it's just a lanyard hole. It's not a tube, as in there is no lining to that. It's just a hole drilled straight through both sides there. It's got a nice shape to the handle. One thing I'm not too crazy about is the way the back end is opened up like that. Of course, it does let you know how the blade is sitting in the channel there, because, well, it's very wide there. And you can see that it is pretty much straight down the middle. Might be favoring a little bit the front of the knife, the show side. I believe this is the show side. Yeah, that would be the show side of the knife. There is no shield, so call it for what it is, but it favors the nail nick side. Let's go with that. You can see that it is slightly towards that side. Maybe you could adjust that with the pivot in the back here. If you see this side, it is just polished. this side, you can adjust the tension so you can make this a little stronger or tighter or looser, I guess. It's kind of got a lazy half stop going on here, if you can tell that. It doesn't, you know, it does stop at the half, but see how it kind of bounces around a bit. Has a good lockup. Blade has a little looseness there. I can feel a slight wobble. Again, if you wanted to, you could tighten that up a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, I'm betting this is a T9. Let's see if a T9 will fit. T9 will go in. I can tighten that up a bit, and yeah, now there's no blade wobble at all. So now, of course, it doesn't snap. It's a little too tight, so I'd have to loosen it up a bit. All right, loosened it about a quarter turn. All right. All right, I loosen it a quarter turn, and the blade kind of has that wobble there. So you can either have a tight blade that is not going to have any walk and talk, or you can have a blade that is a little loose. It's your choice, I guess. I think in my world, I would rather that blade be a little tighter. All right, just a little tighter. I think I found the happy spot. Yeah. Now the blade is tight, so you can stop that from happening by putting a little Loctite in there, and maybe it will keep it in place. Much better action now. But because it is a torque bit in there, it's going to get a little loose, but you can always adjust it. So that is a plus on the some of the modern folders when they do have, or a modern slip joint when they do have torque screws. That's probably the only plus as far as I'm concerned. This has a good bounce here, so that it's got a good kick that's working and preventing it from hitting the back spring, so I like that. Does look like it's stainless steel. One of the things that got me is this is an $80 knife coming out of Italy, and the blade steel they chose for here, it's right on the box, very clear, 420 stainless steel. So, you know, that is about as budget as you can get. I'm not sure why they went with the 420 steel. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like a knife for nautical use, in which case the 420 steel makes a little bit of sense, but at the same time, there are so many better steels out there right now that are rust resistant that could have gone in here. Everything from VG10 or something like the H1 steel. You know, if you're really looking at it being for maritime use or something, a better steel would have made more sense. I know it's an $80 knife. Maybe, you know, it would be a $100 knife if they ended up putting a better grade of steel in there. It is a very much a satin finish. It just says Fox roast fry here. No other markings on there, which I'm sure a lot of people in the modern world like these days. They like the less billboarding, the better. So I'm sure that is going to appeal to quite a few people. I think the biggest drawback for this knife, in my opinion, is the back here. But the back has to be that way because of the blade length. And I don't know if you can see it. You see right there, if it would actually catch if they had something that was filling in the back here, the void in the back. So again, I guess that's one of those modern slip joint kind of things. You got the most blade length out of it you're going to be able to get by having an open back on there. Blade length, let's get the blade length on this. Yeah, right at probably about 3 1/8 of an inch. The cutting edge is 2 3/4 of an inch. Overall length of the knife comes in right at about 7¼ maybe a little bit more than 7¼ The closed length of the knife is right at 4 inches. So your typical size, this is like the sweet spot for most people, 4-inch closed knife. It's not a bad knife. I will say that. It's not a bad knife. I just don't find it necessarily appealing in its looks. I guess, I don't know. I think even your basic Sodbuster has a better look to it. I don't. It's just does have a nice curve there. Feels okay in the hand. You do have a little bit of a sharp corner here, and same here. Could have been chamfered a little bit better. You know, it's just basically, but it is rounded. So I don't know. What I keep looking at is there are so many other knives out there that I like better than this. I guess that's what it comes down to. Here's the Brother, about the same size, but it has and also in micarta. I don't know how much the Brother cost. I thought it was around $60, and you can see the difference here. Now this was made in Italy, this was made in China, so I know some people are just not going to want this because it's made in China. The Brother has this shield where you could do some engraving on there if you wanted to. It has an actual lanyard tube, not a hole, so that is lined. It's a slimmer knife, not nearly as chunky. Blade thickness is not nearly as thick either. I think this is actually designed so that you can hammer on the back and cut it through a rope if you need to. The Brother, it definitely pops to the half, and this is the 1510. It's got VG10 steel in it. Much stronger lockup, and it has a half stop, but I wouldn't consider it safe. It does stop, but man, it scares you when it's shutting, because it really snaps to the half stop, and once it gets past there, it's like a guillotine shutting down. So this also is just pinned. It doesn't have any kind of rivet, so if it gets screwed up, it's screwed up. But I tell you, I like the looks of this one better. I like the blade shape a little bit better. And VG10 versus 420, that's also a big sign on it. If this is supposed to be a rope knife, well, here's an old rope knife by Schrade, and well, you can see the difference in the blade shape. This has a big old ram's foot blade, and it's got a straight bottom, which is typical of what you see on a ropes knife. You can see that the blade is relatively thick, but this has definitely got a beat when it comes to blade thickness. This has got a very thick spine going on for it. You got to give it that. And it has a good drop. It's a little bit of a hollow grind, but it's almost a flat grind too. So I think it's a flat grind. It's hard to tell, but it's got a very thick spine, especially back here. It does taper off a bit. You got a good tip there. And it is mostly straight along the bottom, but it does curve up a little bit. So it's more of a drop point than like a sheep foot or a Warncliffe or anything like that. So still, that would work pretty well for a rope knife blade because it does have a fairly long flat bottom. So that's a very big plus on it. It's not a traditional style of rope knife, but still, I got to give it props for that. It does work in that area. But there's still a few things about this knife that bug me a little bit. But before I go into that, let's show one other knife that is probably my closest traditional pattern slip joint to this knife, at least when it comes to the blade profile. And it's this knife right here. I think I've showed it once before. This is an unmarked knife. I have no idea where it was made or anything else. I believe it was made in the United States. Got a carbon steel blade. If you notice, it's a relatively thick blade back here by the joint, and it tapers all the way down, similar to the way this blade tapers. but this one doesn't taper nearly as quick. But where they match is in the blade profile. If you notice, this one also has a very good drop point going on, and then it is flat along the bottom, and then it just curves at the very tip. And I always thought of this as a some kind of knife for working with rope. So in that area, I can see how these knives are kind of the same. This one obviously has a longer handle, which gives you more to grip onto, and it's also wood and brass, so how can I not like that one? Got a proper half stop, and even though this knife is very old, very little movement in it. There's a ever so slight wobble in the blade. I don't think it came that way though. And when you drop it in there, you got a very good kick. So this knife has all of those same moves going on for it. It's got micarta, which is definitely going to hold up better than wood. And as you can see, you can adjust the tension on the blade a little bit. So if it does get a bit of a wobble, you can fix it. I can't do that with this knife. So that's where this knife has its pluses going on. What I really don't like about this knife is right back here. And that is the annoying part of this knife for me. I wish they would have had this bottom just come straight up, you know, like so. If it had come straight up, they would have been able to put a block in the back here. And that would keep stuff from getting in there maybe. Or maybe they're thinking with it open, it's just all going to slide out. It's easier to clean out. Maybe that's what people are looking at. But I find that back somewhat unattractive. I don't like the back there. All in all, though, if you're into modern slip joints, you'll probably like this one, but at least the design of it. But why in the world do you make a modern slip joint and you put 420 steel in there? It seems like they could have used a better quality steel than 420 in a knife like this. And that is something I've noticed with other Fox knives. I'm assuming they're looking at something that was, you know, high stainless. Maybe that's why they went with it. And 420 is a steel that was used in a lot of nautical knives a long time ago. But the world has moved on from 420 for nautical knives. And at $70, I'm not looking at buying a knife in 420 steel. I'm looking at buying something in VG10 or 440A or something like that. I would rather spend about another $20 and get like a VG10 or an H1 or something like that. I think that's really my biggest gripe about this knife is the steel. But construction-wise, it's really well made. Except for that back. I guess some people are going to like the back, you know, and if you're into modern slip joints, you'll probably like this knife with the exception of the steel. I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this will help somebody. Now I'm going to have to go and look to see what other people thought of this knife. At $70, I would not be buying it, not with 420 steel. That's me. Other people, they might be more than happy with 420 steel in a knife that costs $70.
And yes, I get it. I'm being a little hypocritical here and not accepting 420 steel in this modern slip joint when I accept 420 HC, Case True Sharp, and numerous other steels in my traditional slip joints. And I have even bought traditional slip joints that are using 420 out of Spain and Italy and have not thought twice about it. The difference here is this is a modern slip joint. And if it's going to be a modern slip joint, I would like to see a modern steel in there or at least some kind of an upgrade of steel in there. If this were just a traditional slip joint and coming out of Spain and it was using 420, I would have probably been all right with it, even at the $70 mark, because I have definitely spent $70 on knives that have 420 steel in them, but they were not a modern knife, if you know what I mean. So, yes, I know it's kind of hypocritical and it's setting a different standard for the modern slip joint, but the people who are making modern slip joints are making that standard themselves. So if you're going to make a modern slip joint, you should be using a modern steel as well. Okay, I'm done with my little rant. I hope you found this useful, and also JO Ventures has set up a playlist for reviews of this knife, and so you may want to check that out and get other people's opinions as well. Thank you.
Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.